friends.
Good evening.
Did you stay dry coming in? I hope so. It's not very hospitable of us to make it rain outside. We're glad you're here this morning. This evening. I knew I was going to do that. My name is Jim Wilder. We're happy to have you here. A couple of announcements before we get started. Hope you stay for cookies. There are many, many cookies down in the fellowship hall. That's down the hall north, and you'll find the cookies in the room down there after the service. Also, all of our hymns are going to be out of the Welsh hymnal, which is a spiral-bound hymnal. So we will be singing it in English because we don't want you to hurt yourselves. So we'll sing all the verses in English. Before we get started, I want to introduce the most important person in the room. It's always important that we do this. So why don't you look to your neighbor and say, "You're the most important person in the room. I'm glad you're here this evening."
That's good because I don't know how to do that. I sure think this guy's doing us a good job.
Yeah, I think he does.
We just got to find a way to do it. Oh, everybody's got it. Everybody.
join me in the call to worship. God sends the light of the world into our midst to bless the humble and judge the proud.
Those who see might see.
God sends the light of the world into our midst to humble the exalted and to exalt the humble.
Those who see might become sightless, and that the sightless might see.
God sends the light of the world into our midst to reveal the sin of the saints and to give hope to the sinners.
Let your light illumine us, O Lord, that we may see ourselves through your eyes. If we cannot see our goodness through yours, bless our sight. If we cannot see ours, reveal to us our blindness.
Number 65. You can stand. Join me, if you would, in the invocation. Giver of light, we come here tonight, seeking a way out of our darkness. O healer of the blind, let us feel the touch of your play upon our eyes. Then we too shall bathe in the Siloam's waters. We shall wash and return seeing, our sight restored. Your light shall burn within us, O God, and our neighbors shall behold the light of the world. Amen. Let's join together in our Savior's word. Our Father,
who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
One
Friends, our offering this evening is going to go to the Churches United food pantry, so if the ushers would come, we'll collect this evening as well. But if you look, the subtitle is Bohodia, it means the invitation. So God invites us into His presence.
Red meant on, not off. You all know. Well, very good evening. It's wonderful to be here. Thank you so much. Just in case you didn't know, I'm a Lutheran. Okay. All right. Well, I snuck in here on you. You didn't know what was happening, and here it happened. The Lutherans do not generally participate in these Lenten services. For them, ecumenism means that they're talking to Catholics. I married a Presbyterian pastor, and so we're doing ecumenism all the way possible. Just a quick view around the room. Could the clergy here stand up, please? Okay. Wonderful. All right, great to see you all. So now, tell me what churches you brought with you.
Southside Christian Church.
And this is the youth group here.
Yes.
Amen. Way to go. Way to go, guys. Southside, yes. Bruce, who have you got here?
Emmanuel United Methodist Church, and you can tell because we are the back row Methodists.
All right. You got to support the singing from the back of the Yes.
Yes, Reverend Dave Libby from First Evangelical Reformed Church, Lima, and I have our church back here.
Okay. All right.
Cindy and Rob White, and we're the First Baptist branch.
Okay. And I did bring along some Presbyterians. There you are. They're scattered liberally throughout the room. Well, I want to do all that, first of all, because it's fun, okay? It's really, and it's frankly a miracle, okay? We Christians have somehow learned the art of becoming tribal and becoming separate and doing our own little things, and the fact that we managed to get together here and nobody goes away harmed, as far as I know. And we sing like we belong together, and we pray together like we belong together, because we do. And it just seems to be this time of year that we actually do that, The Church of Jesus Christ throughout the world is the largest religious movement, but it's the one that's maybe also the most divided. Such that I'm not sure what would happen if we actually tried to have communion together. How hard would that be? How much trouble would that get some of us into if we actually did that? I don't know. I don't know if we've ever really tried that. Have we tried it?
Ash Wednesday.
Okay. That's right. Ash Wednesday we did, and everyone went away unharmed. That worked. Yes, it did. How about that? Okay. So we got to be Christian together. That's a miracle. That is straight out of God. That is Jesus doing that among us. I want to read another miracle to you. Most of you probably went to church this morning, right?
Yep.
Yes, correct answer, yes. And so you've probably heard this before, but it's a good one, so I'm going to read it again. As Jesus walked along, he saw a man blind from birth. His disciples asked him, "Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind?" Jesus answered, "Neither this man nor his parents sinned. He was born blind so that God's works might be revealed in him. We must work the works of him who sent me while it is day. Night is coming when no one can work. As long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world." When he had said this, he spat on the ground and made mud with his saliva and spread the mud on the man's eyes, saying to him, "Go wash in the pool of Siloam," which means sent. Then he went and washed and came back able to see. The neighbors and those who had seen him before as a beggar began to ask, "Is this not the man who used to sit and beg?" Some were saying, "It is he." Others were saying, "No, but it's somebody who looks like him." He kept saying, "I am the man." But they kept asking him, "Then how were your eyes opened?" He answered, "The man called Jesus made mud, spread it on my eyes, and said to me, 'Go to Siloam and wash.' Then I went and washed and received my sight." They said to him, "Where is he?" He said, "I do not know." They brought to the Pharisees the man who had formerly been blind. Now it was a Sabbath day when Jesus made the mud and opened his eyes. Then the Pharisees also began to ask him how he had received his sight. He said to them, "He put mud on my eyes, then I washed, and now I see." Some of the Pharisees said, "This man is not from God, for he does not observe the Sabbath." But others said, "How can a man who is a sinner perform such signs?" And they were divided. So they said again to the blind man, "What do you say about him? It was your eyes he opened." He said, "He is a prophet." The Judeans did not believe that he had been blind and had received his sight until they called the parents of the man who had received his sight and asked them, "Is this your son, who you say was born blind? How then does he now see?" His parents answered, "We know that this is our son and that he was born blind, but we do not know how it is that now he sees, nor do we know who opened his eyes. Ask him, he is of age. He will speak for himself." His parents said this because they were afraid of the Judeans, for the Judeans had already agreed that anyone who confessed Jesus to be the Messiah would be put out of the synagogue. Therefore his parents said, "He is of age, ask him." So for the second time they called the man who had been blind, and they said to him, "Give glory to God. We know that this man is a sinner." He answered, "I do not know whether he is a sinner. One thing I do know, that though I was blind, now I see." They said to him, "What did he do to you? How did he open your eyes?" He answered them, "I've told you already, and you would not listen. Why do you want to hear it again? Do you also want to become his disciples?" Then they reviled him, saying, "You are his disciple, but we are disciples of Moses. We know that God has spoken to Moses, but as for this man, we do not know where he comes from." The man answered, "Here is an astonishing thing. You do not know where he comes from, and yet he opened my eyes. We know that God does not listen to sinners, but he does listen to one who worships him and obeys his will. Never since the world began has it been heard that anyone opened the eyes of a person born blind. If this man were not from God, he could do nothing." They answered him, "You were born entirely in sins, and are you trying to teach us?" And they cast him out. Jesus heard that they had driven him out, and when he found him, he said, "Do you believe in the Son of Man?" He answered, "And who is he, sir? Tell me, so that I may believe in him." Jesus said to him, "You have seen him, and the one speaking with you is he." He said, "Lord, I believe." And he knelt down before him. Jesus said, "I came into this world for judgment, so that those who do not see may see, and those who do see may become blind." Some of the Pharisees near him heard this and said to him, "Surely we are not blind, are we?" Jesus said to them, "If you were blind, you would not have sinned, but now that you say, 'We see,' your sin remains." Gospel of our Lord. So, this is a story of casting out. This is a story about casting out. It's one in a series that has already begun in John. It began with the woman who was caught in adultery, and the men who have caught her are trying to stone her to death. That's a casting out. Okay, that's the ultimate sort of casting out, along with crucifixion. So the process has started already in John chapter 8 of casting out, of expelling. It's the same verb that's used for casting out demons. Okay? process has started of casting out. We believe actually that this is where the Gospel of John comes from. It comes from believers in Jesus who have been cast out of synagogues following the destruction of Jerusalem, the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem by the Romans. Because that's the central theme there in the middle of the Gospel. And finally, Jesus' crucifixion is set into motion by his raising Lazarus, who then is to be cast out. See? So this casting out is the manifestation of the world. This is how the world operates. And Jesus, amazingly enough, comes as the light of that same process, that same world, who wants to cast out, who wants to demonstrate and prove holiness and godliness by identifying the sinful ones, the wrong ones, and casting them out. That happens now, too, doesn't it? That's not just 2,000 years ago, right? That happens now. There are Christians who cannot worship together. They can't do what we do. There are Lutherans who cannot worship with other Lutherans. They cannot, not only can they not have communion together, they can't even just pray together. Because there's a couple of Lutheran denominations that are the one true church. I don't know if you knew that. Okay. The Wisconsin Evangelical Lutheran Church is the one true church. And so also is the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod. That's the one true church. It turns out there's a lineup of them. Okay, the Roman Catholic Church is the one true church, and Eastern churches, and yes, some Lutheran ones. I bet you there's some Presbyterian ones that are the one true church, right? Okay. But what they mean by that is that they know exactly who they have to cast out. And in the Gospel of John, people, let us not be mistaken, that is how the world operates. That is not how Jesus operates. This story starts with Jesus seeing the blind man. The man who must be cast out. The only position he has a position in society as a blind man. Right down here. It's right down there, right? Okay. And he's got to stay there. That's his spot. The only thing he gets to say from there is, please help. What was that? Please have some more. Yeah, please help. That's all he can say. Interesting, though, that when he gets his sight, then he also gets his voice. You hear that? What a mouthy guy he is. Right? Okay? So it turns out that goes together. Sight and speech go together. And he's saying to these Pharisees, who he knows who they are. They're the ones who've been telling him all along, yeah, you're the sinner, sit down there and shut up. You get to say one thing. That's it. He knows who they are. And they even have trouble seeing him. They can't hear from him what he has to say now. Because their process is the process of expulsion, the process of determining who has to get excluded, who has to get thrown out. Now, brothers and sisters, as the followers of Christ, we all have been excluded. Okay? There was a time when is everyone here a Gentile, by the way?
Yes.
I'm guessing so. Okay. I'll assume that's true, okay? Gentiles, and were we part of the covenant? Were we one of God's people? No, we were one of those dumb foolish pagans. Okay? We were just reading the end of the book of Acts in our Wednesday afternoon Bible study, and the pagan governor hears Paul preach, and his response is, "Paul, too much learning is driving you insane." Because that's the way pagans are, okay? For Christians, Jews, Muslims, there's no such thing as too much learning, but for paganism is all about those kind of animal pleasures: eat, drink, sex, money, all of those things. Okay? Too much learning, yeah, that's a pagan idea. Yeah, so that process is going on, has been going on with this man. And his sight is his ability, it's not just the physical sight, you see. It's not just that eyesight that we normally think of as sight. In the Bible, sight is not just physical sight, but spiritual sight. So let's talk about that, okay? In modern thinking, our eyes are something that we open up and they receive light into them, and then there's other stuff that goes on. We see. I was not a science major, right? Okay. So that's how it works. We receive light in, and then we see. We form an image and we see. In the Renaissance period, they understood the process of sight as a two-way process, constantly happening at the same time. Light coming in the eye and vision going out from the eye. Okay? They used to speak of, I don't think we do this anymore, they used to speak of the eyes being the windows of the soul. You heard that phrase, the eyes are the windows of the soul, right? Because the person who is there, your soul, your spirit, yourself, who you are, is looking out. Excuse me. It's looking out. And when you look at someone, you see that person there. So it isn't something that's passive the way modern people think of it. It's active, right? You also see this when you've noticed that people see the things they're looking for, but don't see everything that's there. You notice that? Bicyclists can tell you about this, right? When people are driving their cars, they're looking for cars and trucks, not looking for bicycles, right? And they could even look right at them and not see them, right? That's just one example of that. This light from Christ, the light that we receive from Christ, is a light that creates sight. It comes into us from Him. It comes into us from Him. And we are then able to see the way He sees. We're able to see things that the world has taught us not to see. And that's particularly going to be those people that the world has told us they belong here, or they belong out there. The world thinks in terms of us versus them. Us versus them. All the time. Us versus them. Politicians can build their whole careers on us versus them. And we have political systems that are built upon us versus them. Right? The whole international order, which, by the way, God did not set up, is not a creation from God. That's all built upon identifying the us's and keeping the them's out. It's all built upon us versus them. And then comes along Jesus. He sees the people, as children of God, who have been identified as the thems. And He reaches them and makes them us. And then the people who have been in charge of the religious people at His time, the religious people who had been in charge of of identifying and enforcing the boundaries between us versus them, he shows them, even as they are expelling, even as they are casting out, he shows them how they are the ones who are actually blind. And you better believe they don't want to hear that. Right? Yeah. Because once people are spiritually, theologically, morally invested in once they have tied this in with God, who it is who we have to expel, boy, is that blindness. That is really, really hardcore blindness, people. They don't want to receive the light of Christ. They don't want to receive that. Because then, that feels like just chaos to them. How can you have the Sabbath day if, for example, Jesus goes and heals somebody on that day? Harumph. That can't possibly be the Sabbath day. And for Jesus it is. That is exactly the Sabbath day. That's how you do Sabbath. That's God's day. That's God's power. That's God at work. Yes, on the Sabbath day. That's God's light giving us sight. So brothers and sisters, we are living within a world, within a society, within a culture that lives by the darkness. And it's up to us to be the light, to show the light, to speak the light, to be the people of light in the midst of that world. And yes, even sometimes in the midst of that church. In the midst of that church. Okay? We need to then be like Jesus. We need to then be looking for those people who are on the outside. We need to see them. We need to see them and recognize them, and I don't know, we might have to go to them. We might have to, talk with them. They might have to become people to us. We might have to invite them in. We might have to include them. We might have to do what Jesus did, I guess. And brothers and sisters, this is a blessed gift. This work that Jesus has given us, this responsibility to be the people of light in the midst of the world of darkness. Jesus is the light of the world, and that doesn't just mean planet Earth, that means all of that human stuff that is so selfish and self-centered and so focused on us versus them. And brothers and sisters, he is the only way out of that. He is the only way out of that prison. That's also true for each one of us personally, by the way. Okay? Each one of us personally has got that prison in us. It is in some degree caught in that darkness. We hold that darkness. We hold on to that darkness. We love that darkness. We know it. We believe in it. We love it. We hold on to it. And we so need Jesus. We so need Jesus to open that up for us and let us out. And let us really become the children of God that he has called us to be. I want to make a request about this closing hymn. I know you said that we weren't going to sing Welsh tonight. But could we? I mean, those of you who can. Could we? Okay. No? Oh, okay. All right. Fine.
They don't know it either, so.
Oh, okay. It takes time to practice. I get it. Okay, I get it. All right. It takes time to practice. Okay, well, let's turn to hymn number 40 in GH book.
Sing it.